2020. Yep, that was a year. Despite the very obvious setbacks, last year still managed to be a pretty fantastic year for video games, all things considered. Seriously, so many good games. My original plan was to make a video just sharing my 2020 gaming experience, but I just eventually scrapped that idea and decided to do smaller videos on the games I really wanted to talk about instead. I present to you a game I really want to talk about instead. I don't really have much to say about leading up to the game. I learned of the Pathless through one of the PS5 events, thought, hey, that looks pretty cool, and just kind of forgot about it after that until one day I went, sure, let's try it. And wow, I'm glad I did. This game was an experience from start to finish. This simple open world adventure indie game from Giant Squid ended up being one of the best games I played in 2020, and that's saying a lot. In fact, it's one of the most underappreciated games of last year altogether. I see nobody talk about it, and it's a shame because it deserves so much more attention. The Pathless is an open world indie game where you use a bow to traverse the land, search ruins, and solve spatial puzzles, all the while running for your life from the corrupted spirits you're trying to save. The setup for this game is just perfect. You're thrust into this beautiful, ruined world being ravished by corruption. With the aid of your eagle companion, you need to free the corrupted Tall Ones from the Godslayer's curse before all is lost. The story in of itself is so simple, but works so well, especially since most of the story is told from listening to the final thoughts of every person who died in this land. It's rarely directly told to you and is left for you to discover what happened on your own and connect the pieces yourself. It's brilliant. I'm apparently a sucker for games with post-apocalyptic worlds since overtaken by wildlife, and you're left with a beautiful mixture of luscious wilds and ancient ruins. Helped a lot by the game's amazing art style. It clearly lacks the polish you would find in games with much higher budgets. Granted, I'm playing the PS4 version, PS5 may look even better, but especially for an indie game, it still looks fantastic. The mixture of cel shading with very bright and vibrant colors just looks so good despite not having the highest render distance. If you're making an open world game, one of the most important things you need is a great looking world you want to explore. And as you've probably already noticed by now, the main draw of the game has to be its movement because wow, these controls are phenomenal. Every talisman you shoot fills your running meter and gives you a slight boost, so naturally you can constantly chain arrow shots to keep your momentum going. And then you can glide with the eagle, combining it with the momentum of the arrow shots, and then get the ability to burst high into the air, which by the end of the game you can get 11 flaps, which is just as awesome as it sounds. Just These are some of the most fluid controls I have ever felt in a video game, or at the very least an adventure game of this nature. No other game I've ever played has ever come close to the level of flow this game has. Just look at the footage, you can see it for yourself. So the main objective of the game is to solve enough miniature puzzles to collect enough light stones so that you can then restore the 3 towers in each region. Basically all of the puzzles are very simple in nature. All revolve around spatial awareness and moving things into the right position. Lighting torches, firing arrows through enough rings, moving weighted switches, it's all kept really simple, and for a reason. They're supposed to be quick to solve, because of what lurks elsewhere. Remember the cursed spirits I mentioned earlier? Well yeah, at the same time you're exploring the world, solving puzzles, and collecting the light stones, the very same spirit you're trying to free is always chasing you within a giant cloud of fire. You may think you're safe because it doesn't move very fast at all, but this thing can disappear and materialize at will at any point on the map at any time. Especially in the later areas of the game where it gets way more aggressive. These were genuinely some of the most stressful moments I've experienced in a video game in a long time. There is nothing more terrifying than when you think you're safe until the moment you turn around and there's just a giant wall of fire directly behind you and you can't escape. And when it catches you, yeah, it's just as stress-inducing as the wall of fire itself. But when you free the towers, that's when the tables turn and the hunted becomes the huntress. Finally jumping into the heart of the fire and chasing the beast down that has been giving you so much trouble is not only extremely gratifying, but insanely awesome. having to constantly keep your momentum going as you catch up to it while having to avoid all the fire it sends your way. Then it kicks into a proper boss fight, and oh, it's so awesome! Every single boss is amazing and easily some of the highlights of the whole game. The entire game is simple in concept, yet wonderfully implemented. From the controls and movement, the puzzles, the story, the visuals, just everything blends together perfectly, staying simple, yet incredibly engaging. The gameplay loop stays the same: explore, solve puzzles, collect items, run from a monster. Yet it keeps the player's attention the whole time. It's not a super long game, nor is it too short. If you just did the bare minimum and only did enough to progress the story, then yeah, I can see you not getting much value out of the game. But as long as you don't ignore everything and really take your time to explore the world and collect every collectible, I got about 11 hours out of it, which in my eyes is the perfect length. It didn't feel too short, and the game didn't overstay its welcome. It did everything it needed to in the perfect amount of time. Whether that's worth the $40 price tag is completely up to you, but for me, I found every penny worth it for this amazing game. Please, I highly recommend it. It has only been out for a couple of months, and it already seems like a hidden gem. It deserves so much more. It's available on PS4, PS5, PC, and I'm also positive on mobile or something. I promise you won't regret it. How else can I convince you? Oh yeah, there's literally a pet eagle button as a gameplay mechanic. I don't have any segues to the verdict. The Pathless is fantastic, please play it.